mentioned, because we work with about 90% women artisans, and we've seen that a lot. Everything that you have mentioned, that's the story of their lives. But what we've seen as well is that the most successful artisans that we have that are women have very supportive husbands who became supportive eventually because of open communication, which is really hard to do. So it's apparently really hard to communicate. Well, we all know that. But we in R2R, we help facilitate the values formation needed so that they could do effective communication with each other. But that's really the key. If that's not there, then eventually they will just not continue.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to briefly share, because this is a topic very, very close to my heart. There are many solutions outside. There are many systematic proposals, whether done by the West or whether each country will have its model, how to empower more women. To me, I think because I'm an entrepreneur, the answer is very simple. You just get more female entrepreneurs. Because you have more female decision makers in the company, you end up hiring more females. And also that's also related to why I think failure, I keep mentioning failure. Why I think failure is important, I think it's even more important to women, because sometimes we feel that we are lack of confidence, we are lack of, because everyone failed, and if you openly talk about it, no one is better than anybody else, and it's, you feel a lot and you embrace and you get up. And also I want to say, I don't know whether it's include your husband, your male partner into your business. It's a great idea. I think everybody have a different model. But I do also see the pattern. I see the successful case. I do also see the pattern. Business started by a woman and included husbands, and males start to have a more like waving power. And I think, but the answer is, bottom line is, I think financial independence is very important to a woman. Doesn't matter you're a household wife or whether you're an entrepreneur, because that not only give you more freedom, that make you more sexy as well. So yeah.
Okay, the blinking light is the 2-minute warning, I think. So can I go through the questions maybe two at a time, and let's see if we can combine them. Yes, sir. Keep them short, please.
I'm from Brunei. I understand that specializes in building communities. We do. We are from Brunei, but we have service clients from Singapore, New York, and a couple of handful of more countries. Let me tell you this, the clients from Singapore are the most demanding people that we have ever met, and they also pay the top price, so we don't mind being nice to them, right? My question that a lot of startups that we build MVP once the idea is validated, right? So you have a solid MVP, the idea is validated. From your experience, would you recommend them go regional first, then go global after that? Or immediately go global, or just follow what the data tells you? Thank you.
Okay, you think you can answer that very quickly? It's go retail or go global first? Regional or go global first? Maybe just go.
I think Farris, but one thing is.
Okay, I think the day is over.
Proof of concept.
Thank you and good evening. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Proof of concept, build a MVP, what we call the minimum viable product. Just don't try to have a perfect, have it all. I think all the investors will back me up on this. If you want to if your idea is a car, don't build a car, build a scooter first. Test the proof of concept and then go from there.
Maybe just one from you guys. Is it regional, global, or go global right away?
I would say regional. I would understand the market, go regional, make sure it's successful.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Hey, hi, my name is Weston. I used to work in the cryptocurrency startup in Beijing and San Francisco. Earlier it was mentioned that the ideal number of founders would be 3. Y Combinator, an accelerator in Mountain View, California, says you have to have at least 2 people. My question is, what is the reason why a single founder isn't a good idea? And why would 3 be a very good number for the number of founders? Thank you.
I think that came from the investor side. Somebody mentioned, I think it was Pranay who mentioned 3. I don't think it was 3 specifically. You said you need 3 competencies within the system, right? But you want to...
Well, because it's lonely and we don't want dead founders. We don't want them to be killing themselves.
Okay.
So it is very lonely, and it's you can't do everything yourself. You really can't do everything.
But I guess the important question was, why isn't 1 enough?
I don't think you have the skill set. you really need the skills.
It's not the, and you end up talking to yourself also, right? So, Pranay, you want to add to that?
I mean, just think of even somebody as iconic as Steve Jobs has a co-founder. You do need the support. Even if you're a founder, you have certain strengths and you have certain weaknesses. And if you can bring together people, it is about bringing together people. If you're able to communicate a vision to a team of people that become your tribe, they are your believers, they believe in that vision. It can still be the one person who's the figurehead, who's the iconic person. And a lot of teams have to deal with one person who ends up going up on stage, getting a lot of accolades, getting a lot of press coverage. That happens in teams as well. But at the end of the day, I think we are all human, and you know, kudos to every entrepreneur. And this is a really tough space. Huge respect to the social enterprise space, because it's really tough to be a social enterprise.
Okay, I need to end this. They're shutting down the lights on us.
And someone keeps on pointing me to the time. So let me just wrap this up very quickly. I'm really, really sorry I need to end this. The 4 key points I think they all brought up. Number 1 was the balance between impact and return. Number 2, the importance of a really, really good business model. Number 3, to treat the relationships with the investors like a marriage, long-term, common values, etc. That marriage analogy is going to stick forever. And last but not the least, how the importance of the team. And so with that, let us thank the team we have up front for a really great time. So thank you and good evening.
Good afternoon, Mr. Samson. Welcome to the Future. Welcome to the Future Reimagine Conference. I'd like to start by asking you, giving you an opportunity to tell us more about yourself and what you do, also things that you're passionate about in reference to our theme.
So I head up the corporate finance team at IIX in Singapore. IIX is a firm which is focused on raising impact capital. What I mean by impact capital, it's the type of capital that is looking to disrupt the way things are currently, but in a way that brings about social equity, taking into mind the environment as well. Because anything that happens within the environment with regards to climate change disproportionately affects those that are already marginalized. So what we're trying to do here is really bring investment capital to spaces where it hasn't worked so far. So it's bridging the development and finance world, and Singapore is a great place to be based, but we are also working globally. So we have investors from America, from Europe, and from Asia, where there's a growing want to change the way things are currently. What is the status quo and how can we move it forward?
Thank you. You've basing on your collective experiences, collective professional and life experiences, I'd like to know, what do you think, what is your take on the future reimagine?
The future is inspiring and daunting. It's scary and exciting all at the same time. It's exactly this mix of things that are happening which are so exciting on the technology front, but also remembering that there are relationships on the ground that matter. The most important thing for us as human beings is developing trust amongst each other. And how do we rely on both time, investing time and energy in developing relationships, and being able to bring technology where it's needed most. So all of the excitement around technology, I think what we'd like to see is how does it push the boundaries, how does it get to the next level, and how does it get to people who really need it.
I love it. You spoke my keywords, inspiring and daunting. So you're basically building up on that. I'd like to ask you specifically that exact question. What are the things that inspire you about the future, and what are the things that scare you most about it?
So what inspires me is the way that we seem to collectively be thinking about what's going to happen in the future. It's the level of passion and energy and excitement in wanting to do something that challenges the way that we're doing it currently. It's that level of energy that's required, the perseverance, but at the same time the sophistication to say that we're willing to do the hard work, but we are also willing to challenge the way things are. So that's the inspiring part. But I would say what's daunting is there is a very deep set mindset that we are trying to challenge. There is a way of doing things that we are globally comfortable with. And therefore there are, I would not necessarily call it vested interests, but there's a sort of space where people are comfortable. And how do we challenge that level of comfort? And the world of finance is a good example, because on one hand you have very large banks that are too big to fail, and that proved itself in the 2008 financial crisis. And on the other hand, you have these incredible fintech startups where people are moving money around the world at paces which the banks are trying to catch up. So you have this dichotomy of technology versus an established structure, which is challenging the way that we can do things. But at the end of it, you still have a huge percentage of people who are still unbanked. And there are countries that remain in Asia where up to 50% of people still don't have bank accounts. So what's daunting is how do you get these two worlds to talk to each other? And I think what it comes down to is perhaps the relationships. How do you develop relationships based on trust, based on mutual trust, where both sides can see each other's points of view?
Last two questions, I'll make it very quick, and I really need to go up.
Sure.
So, if there's one skill, could be long forgotten, could be current, could be new, what do you think would be what would be the most important one that people?
Sorry, what was the?
If there's a skill that we need to hone in preparation for the future, what do you think would be the most important?
Personally, my take is the skill is empathy. How can we see the world through other people's eyes and be able to understand what it means to live someone else's life? And that's what it comes down to. I think that's what makes us human.
Good morning, Diane. How are you doing today?
Good. Very happy to be here.
So would you tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, how you ended up doing the work that you're doing, and finally how you found yourself here at the Future Reimagined?
Okay, I've been with the First Pacific Group for almost 10 years now. And about 6 years ago, we launched IdeaSpace. So I became the Executive Director of IdeaSpace. It is a nonprofit that supports early stage technology entrepreneurs. It is sponsored by the whole First Pacific Group, so many companies under the First Pacific Group of companies fund us. So we have Meralco, PLDT, Maynilad, and companies like that support IdeaSpace. So what we do is we prepare we are an accelerator that helps early stage startups accelerate to the next phase. So if they're in an idea stage, then they accelerate to prototype stage. And if you're a prototype, we accelerate them to the next stage. So how this is connected to Future Reimagined is because the startups that we support are early stage technology startups. These are not startups that are using the proven business model. So these are new business models. Therefore, they need support in the early stages. And I think this conference is really good because we really need to make people more aware what the future is like, and that we need to be responsive and receptive to new technologies. Usually people are not receptive to new technologies. They want to keep the status quo. So having conferences like these open people's minds and allow people to try and experiment.
So how would you say, since you're working in this space, that the tech startup ecosystem in the Philippines has, been in the last 5 to 10 years? Has it grown? What's the community like? What are the key focus areas and, kind of industries that these startups are, let's say, disrupting?
We're in a very nascent stage. I think there's still too much talk. There's still too much focus on awareness. We really need to start talking about forging collaboration, forging partnerships, and working with technologies, even if they're at a very clunky stage, people have to be more open to experimenting. It's challenging in the Philippines because we're a very fragmented ecosystem. So even from the geographical perspective, it's, we're an island nation. Therefore, many people have insular thinking. They don't want to forge partnerships because there's a trust issue. So there's a lot of work we have to do in terms of getting R&D that comes from universities on to be supported and commercialized, and for industry to also pull and work together with academe and government also to provide the policies to make it more friendly to early stage startups. Right now, it isn't that friendly. Whether you're an established business or an early stage startup, your tax is the same. And even if they say there are laws in place, a lot of times the practices are also not in place. So it's very challenging, but then I guess by the force of external forces, we are pressured to really adapt to new things, to learn and be aware and try new things. The population is generally young. Therefore, young people like to experiment, and they are not, the younger generations are not affected by geographical boundaries. What they see on the internet, they try. So it isn't unlike the older generations. As I said, a lot of it's like insular thinking. Oh, don't work with people from that island. Oh, don't work with people from that region. There's less of that now among the young. Therefore, I'm really hopeful with getting deep technology to get to be adopted. It's just that we're in this very tricky transition phase, and the government is still, and many businesses are still led by older generations that are a little bit wary, so there's a lot we have to do. But time will come, and this will create like an explosion, I think.
I know I'm in the blockchain space, so I completely understand what explosion means and how actually policymakers are equally accelerators as people in the private sector. So we really need to work together, and that's a point that you raised that really resonates with the work that I do. And so my final question is, if you could sum up what you imagine the future to be. What is your imagined future?
My imagined future for the Philippines, especially as I speak on behalf of a Filipino, is that there will really be less fragmentation, that somebody making peanut brittle in Cagayan de Oro can easily sell and ship her peanut brittle to somebody in Hong Kong or to Shenzhen or somewhere around the world, and that the Philippines will really be less fragmented as well as a nation. With technology, there will be more interconnectedness, there will be more understanding. Therefore, it will lead to, sorry for the beauty contest comment, but it will lead to world peace. Because if there's more understanding, there will be more opportunities for peace.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time this morning, Diane. Have a good day.
So just to start us off, can you introduce yourself and what you do?
My name is Terry Allen Farris. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for AIM Scientific Research Foundation. I work with AIM.
Okay, great. What are you excited about over the next 2 days, or what excites you most about the program and what's going to be happening?
I think the exciting thing that as we look at this program, we're bringing in government, we're bringing business, we're bringing nonprofits, we're bringing leadership from across the sectors to come and talk about, really good governance, looking at how do we reimagine, how do we look at where the future is, because Philippines really needs to address these issues, and having the vice president come and having, with Ramon Magsaysay and having AIM coming together, it brings all the key players and saying, look, how do we make a positive impact here in the Philippines and across the region?
And what we just finished the morning sessions. What stood out the most for you? What impacted you the most so far from the discussions?
I think looking at the future, I think technology can be scary, but at the same time it can be exciting. So we need to look at how do we address that in a positive way, and how do we use it to reduce poverty at the bottom of the pyramid? How do we increase education? And it can be a very, very powerful tool.
Yeah. And talking about education and your work with AIM, what do you think we need to do to prepare for this future, considering it's incredibly unpredictable?
I think that on the educational side, even for AIM, we have to continually look at how does technology change education? Because we don't know. And the millennials today look at how they want to learn differently. Does bricks and mortars really matter anymore? Or is it they want to be able to have a tool or something that they can learn? They want to be able to ask questions. They want to have professors that challenge them, that can take on projects where they can work together and actually do something while they're still studying, compared to before, let's just study. Today, let's use technology, let's move forward with it.
What do you think are some of the bigger changes that you're foreseeing in the future?
Well, I think artificial intelligence is going to be an amazing impact on all of us, from our jobs, how we learn, even, from automation of, driverless cars. I used to be at Nanyang Technological University, and today they were showing online how they have going all around the campus all of these automated cars that you just get in and it takes you, and they've got little metal in the drive so it follows a path and moves it around. They've been working on it for the last 5 years, and so how is that going to change our lives for the future?
Great. And since things are going to be changing our lives, do you see that this is something that the future is going to be bright or bleak?
I think we have our challenges, because as we have artificial intelligence, does it take away jobs? How do we make sure, especially here in the Philippines, how a lot of the back office and everything, will automation change it? How do we retool? How do we make sure that our young people have jobs that they can work in the future and continue to take care of their families here and overseas?
Just to finish us off, one of the polls that showed is that people, a lot of them are here to get new ideas, but beyond ideas, what types of actions do you want to see after this conference?
Well, I want us to take 2 or 3 key items that come out of this and say, how do we as a group work together, and how do we address that? And say by next year's conference or forum, to say, did we move the bar at all? And I think that's the great thing about AIM, is that if we can take what's been shared here, we're able then to bring groups together to address it, and then also to support it by research or independent research. By next year, were we able to make any positive change or any impact for the future?
Great, thank you so much for your time.
All right, see you.
And we are back in our Future Reimagine conference, and joining us in our Imagination Hub today is Mr. Korawit from Socialgiver. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
How are you feeling today?
Doing good. It's been pretty interesting conference for yesterday, and today I'm looking forward to hear more interesting conversations.
What do you find most interesting about yesterday's session?
I would say about AI and futuristic technologies. Yeah, I find a panel discussion very intriguing.
How does this technological innovation comes into play in the work that you do at Socialgiver? And if you can give us a bit of a background about the organization as well, so that our audience can be oriented about it.
Of course, technology is actually a backbone of our platform, Socialgiver. So Socialgiver is a social enterprise platform that fundraise to different social projects and charities we tap into service sector, the spare capacity of service sector, such as hotel rooms, restaurants, activities and events. We sell these services to the public, to average customers, and people can shop at a good price. And then the interesting part is that the money actually doesn't go back to businesses. It goes toward fundraising to charities in Thailand. So businesses, they donate their capacity to our platform, and then we help them sell and fundraise to different projects of their choices.
It's very interesting. Can you talk about a specific project from Socialgiver platform that created and how they actually are making impact in their communities?
Of course, I would talk about, we fundraise to almost 30 social projects in Thailand at the moment. I would pick a project called Sati Foundation, which is the project that provide clean water supplies to villages, to children in rural areas, because in a lot of hill tribe villages in Thailand, especially in the north, they don't have the access to clean water yet. And this project actually founded by a doctor, and he believed that it can create a lot more impact by going into these villages and provide clean drinking water. They give the filter machine. Actually, the system that they do it themselves, and they can maintain. It's not expensive system from big brand names, but it's like the filtration machine that they can actually, the people over there can actually maintain and make sure that they can get supplies of clean water throughout the years.
That's very inspiring. I mean, that's a basic necessity and still a huge problem in many parts of the world. And I'm interested to know, what do you think would the future look like for crowdfunding, fundraising, especially in the context that you do in Socialgiver?
In my opinion, I think fundraising in the future will be different. It won't be only donation-based fundraising. There will be more options that get the new technologies to be a part in it, such as initial coin offerings or ICO that use the cryptocurrency to fundraise. The interesting part is that it's actually more transparent. You can track where the money goes. You can know exactly the impact of the fundraising, the donation that you make. It's not necessarily have to be donation nowadays. Like same like Socialgiver platform, consumer actually get a great deal when they buy vouchers on our platform, and they also get to help the social projects. They get to donate as well, so it's win-win for them. So this is only possible because the businesses, they actually want to do this. They want to help the social projects instead of traditional model that they usually just donate, use their cash, their profit to donate to these projects. Now they can actually use their spare capacity that they actually don't use it all anyway. Each day, each night, the hotel room doesn't always sell 100% of their capacity. So it's actually utilize their services and also divert that into the fund to these social projects. And like ICO would be one of the example that you can make it more transparent, and also it reaches to many people, and there'll be not more innovation that getting involved in this fundraising in the future. That's in my opinion. Actually, I can see it's coming already.
Thank you so much, and we are very excited for what is more to come to Socialgiver, and have a great conference.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Good morning, Reese. How are you doing today?
Hi, good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. So I was wondering if you could provide some background on yourself, your work, and ultimately also how you ended up here at the Future Reimagined.
Okay, so my name is Reese Fernandez-Ruiz. I'm the co-founder and president of a social enterprise called R2R, or more known as Rags to Riches. So we are a fashion and design house empowering community artisans from the Philippines. And I found myself here because I got invited to just share our experiences, especially when it comes to like dealing with investors and fundraising for a social enterprise like ours.
Wonderful. And I'm wondering, what was the most impactful session in the last 2 days for you? And if you could tell me a little bit why, it was that impactful for you.
Okay, so this is my first day here, so I don't have a lot of insights yet. But from what I heard, because most of my friends have been here and have attended the sessions, and they really learned a lot from each other and from the sessions itself. So far, the past day has been amazing and very informative and very challenging when it comes to just thinking about new possibilities of how to do the things that you are kind of used to doing.
Wonderful. So, if you were to sum up in one brief, concise statement, what the imagined future is for you, as a member of the youth, how would you define that?
I don't know if I could sum it up in one line, because the future is definitely such it's huge, and it's gonna take a long while for us to really get to the end of it, hopefully. But I think I wish that the future will look kinder and more compassionate. I think we may not be seeing a lot of that in the world, but I'd beg to differ. I think that we are seeing it in little pockets of change, and that is really where big revolutions begin. So I'm optimistic that in the future we'll be more mindful and hopefully more kind.
So I have a question now. I think, social media has been such a contentious subject as of late, and there's so many, controversial statements that have been made about, community organization and social media. There are these algorithms that keep like-minded people together instead of exposing people to new ideas.
Yeah.
How do you think, I know I'm just as optimistic as you about, kindness in the world, sprouting in different places. But how do you think we can, create and grow the network and grow a movement that is, very positive and focused on positive change making with all of these, tricky technologies even that we see today?
Yeah, I think, a lot of our technology, I'm sure there are some people who would manipulate it for a certain agenda, for sure. I mean, it happens all over the world. But I think there are also powerful forces that influence our behavior and culture. So for one, I think pop culture is a huge influence in everyone. Now, if you look back 20 years ago, our pop culture used to be full of toxic masculinity and damsels in distress, but now try to have a show that shows that exactly, and you will see a huge backlash on social media. And I think that's kind of organic. So I think people are beginning to put a mirror onto ourselves and see what's exactly wrong with us. And in recognizing the things that we can improve, it's the only way to actually try to improve things. So I think there are some influences. Social media is a big influence. I think it's a new pop culture, not just channel, but in itself it's the content as well. So hopefully we'll have more content that shows kindness and positivity. There will always be the negative ones, but I think if they make us feel that there's something wrong, if they stir something in us that just disturb us, that will urge us to create more change. And I think that's important. I think it's important to have a healthy level of dissatisfaction and a healthy level of disillusionment so that you can actually do something. It's hard to always come from a place of inspiration. So you have to see some things that kind of distract you and make you despair a little, and then hopefully you can change it.
Yeah, so in an earlier interview I had today, we talked about disruption, of course. This is a tech conference. We talk about digital transformation and disruption, but the conversation actually led to, disrupting ourselves as well, which I'm hearing from your words as well, that in order for us to really move forward and pave a good path and improve the way we interact with technology, we need to consider disrupting ourselves. And I think that's a very powerful message. So finally, just, for the last minute, if you have anything, any words you'd like to share with our viewers, any final ideas and thoughts?
Yeah, so I think conferences and communities like this one bring us all together, and we'll be surprised that we actually don't know each other that much. I think social media has shown a lot of that. Like, we're surprised that people think that way. And then we discover that there are so many things that actually bind us together more than divide us. And I think we should bank on that and realize the humanity in each other. So in places like this, where we can get connected in person, not through typing stuff, hopefully we get to know the people behind the musings, behind the passive-aggressive remarks everywhere, usually in social media. Because when we do, then we'll find common ground. And common ground is just so crucial now that we have to work together to help our world become better.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time this morning, Reese.